Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me again for another nutrition seminar. But before I travel further down this path, I wanted to have a very different conversation with all of you, and I want you to really think about what I'm about to say. Current estimates, this coronavirus could kill over 1 million people in this country, most of them at a very particular age and risk factor. Now, I want you to recognize the response that we're having here to this virus, which is going to collapse our economy and already has, and will have long-term consequences on small businesses like mine and many of yours if we even survive. There's an asymmetry here between our response to this virus and our response to heart disease and cancer in this country, which every year kills between 1.2 and 1.3 million people a year. Now, I am not saying that we shouldn't take dramatic measures for this coronavirus. What I'm saying is there's an asymmetry. Same amount of lives, but I ask you this. For the lives that are lost between cancer and heart disease, do you believe that we are putting out the message with the sense of urgency that needs to be put out in order to prevent heart disease and cancer? Do you think that people even know most of the things that I've been talking about for the past few seminars and in seminars over the 15 years that I've been doing seminars? Think about how many people still smoke cigarettes. How is it possible that we still have cigarettes available for purchase, knowing that it kills almost 500,000 people a year? Do the research yourself. How is it possible that we still allow children to drink soda and candy bars and eat candy bars and have the sugar consumption that we allow them to have when we know what the long-term consequences are in their health? This is what leads to heart disease. This is no secret. The whole 12 weeks of seminars that I did and have done in the past really lead to why we're dying of heart disease. So first, I show what's wrong with your digestion, what's wrong with your gut microbiota, what's wrong with your mitochondria, what is inflammation and what's happening there, and cellular senescence. And we talk about the mTOR pathway. We talk about breathing and a whole bunch of things. But at the end of the day, it eventually leads to heart disease. And unless we understand all of the things that lead to heart disease, and if we keep, sitting all day, eating all day, not moving all day, not understanding what food is doing to us, we will continue to die the 650,000 deaths a year of heart disease. Again, I'm saying there's an asymmetry here. There's the same amount of lives are being lost every year, this coronavirus, compared to heart disease and cancer. And I want you to recognize that how little any of you know about really what's causing heart disease, other than the fact that your doctor told you to take, this blood pressure medicine or 2 blood pressure medications along with this statin. This is a problem. This is a big problem because we keep putting Band-Aids on the problem and not understanding what I've been trying to tell everybody for many, many, many years. And the problem is that it's a process of educating. It's a process of understanding what is really happening here. So if we can maybe pull one nugget out of this whole situation, I want you to just recognize that if you take the time to do this 40-day challenge with me, actually listen to the meditations and do them first thing in the morning, that part 1. Listen to what I'm saying there, because I am claiming that as we do the contemplation part of the meditation, you will pull nuggets out of there that will help your movement, it will help your patterns of eating, and it will help your parasympathetic nervous system. Right now, everybody's way too sympathetic. We're all way too wired up. Why not start your day the right way? With meditation, breathing, contemplation. Then do a little bit of exercise. You could follow along with those exercise videos and just get a little movement in, but pay attention to technique. Technique is what I'm going into in those videos more than anything. And then here, pay attention to one thing you can do every day to be a little bit healthier so that you don't become part of that 1.2 to 1.3 million who die each year of heart disease and or cancer. So again, recognize the asymmetry. And I'm just talking about heart disease and cancer. I'm not talking about, alcohol related deaths or any of these other things that we know that are further problems that could probably be mitigated as well. So let's go a little bit further down this rabbit hole today, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about inflammation. I want you to understand that inflammation, we talked earlier about digestion, and we talked about the gut microbiota in previous seminars, and then we talked about enhancing mitochondrial health yesterday. If you didn't see these videos, I highly suggest you go back and watch. This is the 5th video that I'm doing of these half-hour seminars. But if you understand how all of these things cause inflammation, recognize that when things are bad in this pathway back here, if digestion is poor, if your gut microbiome becomes disrupted, if mitochondria aren't being optimized, and in fact, this backflow that we talked about yesterday, where you're just eating way too much, and the oxidative stress that's happening proximal to the mitochondria is really what's causing this inflammation problem. If we begin to understand these things, we know that long-term inflammation in the body is really, really bad. Now look, there's good types of inflammation. The inflammation that you get after you work out is a good thing. You're coming back stronger. Again, this is what's called the hormetic response, which I've talked about in the past, but I will go into a specific seminar just talking about hormesis. But we do want short-term stress so that the body deals with the stress and comes back stronger. But if we have a whole bunch of things going on in our digestion, which I won't go all the way through, but there's a whole bunch of ways that you can cause problems in your digestion, that will cause inflammation. Then there's a whole bunch of things you can do to your gut microbiome. Lots of antibiotics, laxatives, lots of sugar. I mean, we could go on and on with things that we know that will cause a compromised gut and lead to things like diverticulitis, IBS, you name it. We know that all those things eventually are likely to create autoimmune diseases, which is a whole nother category of diseases that are consequential to everybody's well-being and health. Again, do you hear the same sense of urgency about teaching people how are autoimmune diseases coming about? There's an asymmetry in information, everybody. Everybody's really interested in understanding about this coronavirus and how it's happening and what it's happening and how to protect themselves and who's dying. Why aren't we understanding yet how really cancer, heart disease, autoimmune diseases come into existence? Why is there not the same sense of urgency to learn? I don't get it. But since you're listening to this video, you're starting to say, wait a second, you know what? Maybe Tom's a little bit right. There's something awry. And so when it comes down to it, guys, we talk about this broad spectrum of things. And as I go down this rabbit hole in each topic, you'll see that there are things you can learn and do right now that long-term consequentially stop you from getting heart disease, stop you from getting cancer, stop you from becoming addicted to certain substances and things that probably aren't good for you when we talk about dopamine and all that stuff later on. But exercise is a good thing. It does cause inflammation. And that type of inflammation, that acute inflammation, we want to introduce to the body, to the muscles, in order for it to come back stronger. Similarly, we stress our minds when we learn, right? And then when we sleep at night, we know that information when we sleep is where we really, really learn. That's why it's such a problem if you don't sleep through the full sleep cycles. We know that people are not able to retain information that they learned the previous day very well compared to people that go through their sleep cycles. And we will talk about that in sleep. But inflammation is a problem over the long term. So I want you to think about what it is that you can do to reduce some of the inflammation in your body. And the answer is not and should not be ibuprofen, because ibuprofen and things like Aleve and Tylenol and all these things, we know that the long-term use of these things will similarly lead to a compromised gut or issues with your kidneys. That can't be the answer. The answer has to be understanding how you got inflamed in the first place. So I ask you to go back, watch the videos on digestion, because that's the first place to start. It's in your mouth, it's in your stomach, and then it's in your gut. Listen to that. Then go back and understand what's happening with mitochondria and how this train, it's called the electron transport chain, but I'm using it as an example as train stops along the way. Only one train can stop at each station. If you're trying to put too many trains on that track, crash is going to occur. You have leakage. That's that oxidative stress. That backup that we see over here is what's causing consequential issues with your health. That high oxidative stress leads to inflammation. And many refer to it in the field as inflammaging, because once you have a lot of inflammation, we know that there's a lot of aging, and we know that it leads to a lot of diseases, including cancer, because we know that it makes cells it makes it harder for them to die. The cellular senescence, it becomes an issue, and we want cells to die. So I talked about that a little bit yesterday. We talked about autophagy. We want new young things coming into the body. So having said that, all of that, I want you to think about the context of what can I do instead of keep adding more and more information to you guys. Tomorrow I'll do a whole topic on another thing, but I want you to think about what can you take away from the first few videos that I did that you can do right now to address inflammation in your body. And I want you to contemplate the things that I talked about, the asymmetry between how we're reacting to this virus, which is a good thing. We should react strongly. Are there ways that we maybe could have done it differently and thought about it differently 2 or 3 months ago? Yes, but that's not the point of this video. My point is that we're reacting a certain way right now to something that's going to kill 1.2 million people. And yet there's, on the other side, other diseases that are killing more people than that. And yet most of us are blind to the mechanisms to which this is happening. And furthermore, we continue to sell products to people that are addicted to these substances that are going to kill 500,000 people this year, and they're called cigarettes. I just don't understand this. I don't understand what we know about sugar and the consequences. And at the end of the day, guys, let's start learning. Let's start understanding. Let's start asking some better questions. And please go back, listen to those meditations, watch those exercise videos, listen to the seminars that I did earlier. Pick a couple things that you can focus on today. Stick with it. And as you go along in these 40 days, I'll keep adding more information, little things for you guys to consider. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the day. Any questions, please let me know, and I will address them. All right, everybody, have a good day.